Hey, what's going on out there, man? Y'all know what time it is, man. Quick pop-up show. Uh we still churning out hits, man, because that's what
Hey
we
man.
do. 95 North Sports Machine Crew. Putting in
Yes,
work,
sir.
man, and we bringing y'all some of the best people in the industry, man. Sports industry, that is, and entertainment. And today, man, we got Mr. Steve Holman, voice of the Atlanta Hawks. He gonna come through and talk to us right quick and give his thoughts on some of the burning question that we have. But
Mm-hmm.
before we do, man, Chris, y'all know what I gotta do, man. I gotta give y'all the
Oh yeah.
dopest intro in sports. And yes, it's Falcons, but it's also Atlanta sports. So
'Hey man, let's
10
hit it.
seconds.
Yes, sir.
Take it
Yes,
away,
sir.
Chris.
A1 Forever Sports. A1 Forever Sports. Chris Tipmore here. You already know, with my tag team partner, 1/3 of the 95 crew, Smooth Smitty 10K. And today we have a good one for you, man. We have today 5-time Georgia Sportscaster of the Year, headed into his 39th season as with the Hawks play-by-play, and with the streak
Boy.
more impressive than the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I'm talking about the Iron Man himself, Steve Holman.
Hello, fellas. Yep.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. Number 3,000 consecutive will be opening night. So
Yes,
Wow.
sir. You just heard
should,
it.
it should be
3,000
quite a night.
consecutive, man.
Yeah, and it's my 40th season starting. Just finished 39.
Starting the 40th season. Sorry, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry about that. That's my
no, but
mistake.
I
That's
shouldn't make
my
myself
mistake. Just
older than I
getting
am.
ahead of
But
the game.
So so
Yeah,
so
hey
after
man.
39 years, is it getting any easier, or is the preparation a little bit different with the way
well,
the game is changing?
the preparation's always pretty much the same. I mean, it gets to be
Mhm.
a little bit more routine every game when you get ready. You know, we have 82 regular games and then hopefully more playoff games, but the preparation always stays pretty much the same. Go over stats that come in on the NBA, and I work on that in the morning. If we're on the road, I'll do it at shoot around. If I'm home, I'll do it at home. You know, it takes 45 minutes to an hour every game. But it doesn't take forever. It's not brain surgery, so we get ready, and
Right.
when you've done almost 3,000 games, it's you don't take it for granted ever, but it gets a little
Right.
bit easier each night. But every night is a new night, and you kind of have to look at every night, every broadcast as a brand new day, a new broadcast. Everybody's 0-0 when the game starts. You don't look at the
Mm-hmm.
records,
Right.
especially years like we've won 13 games. It's and
Oh man.
it's a sleet, rainy night, cold in January or something, and but you have to just kind of suck it up and do it like you do every night. It's we're in the kind of in the entertainment business as well as
Right.
broadcasting business, so you have to be upbeat and ready to go every night.
Speaking of being in the broadcasting business, what was it for you that just was triggered you and say, "Hey, look, sportscasting, the sports business, this is for me."
Well, when I was about 8 years old, I used to listen in the car with my dad to Johnny Most, the old Celtics announcer,
Yes.
years and years ago. And I heard him and decided, well, I think that would be something I'd like to do. And broadcasting was something that I just never thought anything else, really. It's kind of a
Right.
strange thing to be able to, I've had the God given talent to do it. I've had the fortune to do it,
Right.
and be able to step in there. And it's the only thing I've ever done since I was 17 years old. It's a long time
Indeed.
ago now.
Hey, indeed. But the beautiful thing about that is you already knew what you were supposed to do, what you wanted to do, what you had the passion for. A lot of us, we don't find that, especially at the tender young age of 8. And we don't do that. I mean, for me, I can definitely say at 8 and at 17, I still didn't really figure out exactly what I want to do professionally. So to have that is a great thing. And now you've been doing what you've been doing for so long, and you're great at it. And I just want to know also, after all these years, what has made you stay in Atlanta?
Well, that's a great question because I came here from Boston. I had worked with Johnny
Mhm.
Most. I kept score for him
Indeed.
as a young kid, and I was only 17, 18, 19, 20 then. And my dream was actually to be Johnny Most and maybe take over the Celtics someday. But the opportunity came to come to Atlanta in 1980. I started out doing Falcons for 5 years.
Right.
1 year with Bob Neal and Harmon Wages. If you go way back to that, and then the next 4 years, I did it with Brad Nessler. Brad Nessler and I were the young duo back then. In the early '80s.
Right.
Some great years for the Falcons too. I mean, the first year I got here, 1980. They go all the way to that famous playoff game against Dallas, and it was quite a year.
Right.
I think we were 12-4 that year. Steve Bartkowski to Alfred Jenkins and Alfred Jackson and William Andrews was on that team, and it was great. I mean,
Yes,
it was
sir.
so much fun. But basketball was always really my passion. I wanted to do basketball. I wanted to do NBA, and the opportunity came up at WGST in 1985, 86, that season, to step in and do the games, and here we are. Ever since then, that's all I've done.
Man, that is some beautiful stuff. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Smitty, you got can't hear you, Smitty.
If you can recall, back in 1994, we made a auspicious move to trade Dominique to the Clippers, only to have Daddy Manning for a couple of months.
Yeah, one of the worst days in Atlanta sports history.
Exactly.
I would say, worst day in Hawks history, and maybe right there is one of the worst days in Atlanta sports history. I mean, that was a total mistake to do that, especially given the, Danny Manning. As we know now, I don't think he ever intended to stay here. I think he had a deal already made that he was going to go to the Phoenix Suns. And Dominique was gone. I mean, it's just a sad day. But over the years, Dominique feels better about it now. Time heals all wounds, right? So,
Yeah.
he stayed away for a while after that.
He did.
And wasn't really, the management at the time. I don't think he was, even when he stopped playing, he was all that welcome back. But then we broke through. We retired his number, had the ceremony. He came back, was welcomed as the, great part of the family. And now he does the TV with Bob, as we know, and has been doing that for so long. And, he's the greatest Atlanta Hawk ever still. I mean, somebody may come along and, maybe Trey will be the guy 10 years from now. We'll say the same thing. But, Dominique is still Dominique, and he's I can still go by every hotel we go to when we're on the road. How the autograph seekers are outside and wait for the players to get off the bus and everything. And Dominique is still the most popular Atlanta Hawk there is. I mean, when he gets off that bus, people have more paraphernalia and shirts and pictures and everything, and they all want Dominique, and he's accommodating to all of them, which he's taught that to the younger players over the years. And he makes a good point. He says a lot of guys don't do that. They'll walk right past the people on the street or whatever that want autographs and walk into the hotel. And then maybe someday, 10 years after they're retired, they'll wonder why people don't want those autographs or want those pictures.
Right.
He tells the young guys that all the time. There's going to come a day when you wish that they were asking for you or they remembered you. So he's been very good about that, and he's helped our young guys with that. They're all very, very nice to people that want autographs, pictures, that kind of thing. They have to draw the line a little bit with these, professional eBay people that, they're all out there just to look for an autograph to sell on eBay. And,
Right.
you can kind of pick those people out too, in a crowd when they're at the hotels and that there are people there at 2 or 3 in the morning when we arrive in a different city. How do they know we're going to be there? And they're not just fans, I don't think, some of them. So you kind of have to pick and choose. But Dominique's great about that. He's still our most popular Hawk, I think, and he always will be, I think.
Agreed. How do you feel like they can keep from making that same mistake with Dominique than with Trae Young?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen. Luckily, they don't tell me about any of that kind of stuff, but He's great. I love Trey. He's a good kid. I say everybody's a kid to me, at the stage of my life.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he is in his 6th year, 7th year coming up, and he's matured a lot over the years.
man.
He's got 2 kids now and a wife, and I think he's really kind of mellowed out a little bit, smoothed out a little bit, and so I love him. He's one of the best things that's happened to our franchise, I think, over the years, and
Agreed.
whatever happens is going to happen. I mean, you hear all the rumors, you read all the stories, you hear all the blogs, but I think most of it's all speculation at this point.
Yeah,
Because our
Right.
management people, they hold the cards pretty close to the vest. They don't go out and put things out there. Agents sometimes will drop things out there so they can get publicity from it and maybe put a bug in somebody's ear. But our management people don't go out and say things like that, just willy nilly. So
Right.
if he stays, I would be happy. If they find or he finds that the best thing to do is move on, that'll work out too, I'm sure. But he's a great kid, and he's been great for Atlanta. And I go by, I mean, not only in Atlanta, of course, where kids wear the Trae Young jerseys every night, everywhere. But the thing I
Right.
could, for the first time in all my years since Dominique, when we go into different buildings, and even in the great NBA cities, Chicago, New York, Boston, there are kids there with the Trae Young jersey on.
And number 11, baby.
That's something that we would never see, with the Atlanta Hawks before. And you see fathers, and mothers bringing their kids to the games because the kids want to go see Trae. And he's been that way, and he's great with all of the fans like that. So I don't know what's coming up down the road. We know the draft is coming up on June 26th. We have the number 1 pick, which is a great thing to have. First time we've ever had that first pick, and it was a time that really nobody expected it. Other times we've had better odds to think of getting that first pick. You go all the way back to when they started the draft lottery in 1985. We ended up, and that was the year that Patrick Ewing went to New York. And that was when they, everybody allegedly had the cold envelope in the big barrel that they put.
Yeah, the frozen envelope.
The frozen envelope, but nobody knows for sure that's what happened. But John Koncak was the 5th pick, I think, that year. That was ours. So you don't get the opportunity to be that high in the draft that often, especially number 1. So there are so many options, players, number 1. And we've seen all the names, all the lists of who the top players are. I don't myself follow that stuff that closely. I pretty much wait until guys are in the league or on our team, and then I start to figure out who's who and more about them. But there are so many options. They could, you could trade the pick, you can package it with somebody, you could do, there are so many. You can move down and get a couple of more picks. You can do a lot of things with it. So these are things that over the next 2 weeks now, really, that's all we have left on.
All we got left.
Got a couple of weeks left. So Landry and Kyle and Tony Ressler, our owner, and they're all putting their heads together. I know our basketball operations people, all the scouts are in town, and they'll be having big meetings over the next couple of weeks about possible players, and there'll be all that discussion, and they'll figure out what to do. And those are the people that get paid to make those big decisions. So
absolutely,
whatever they do, I'm good with.
Right. And I think about what you just said too. Just the fact that we don't have a lot of draft capital moving forward. Trading that number 1 pick is pretty much a realistic option. That's what is pretty much what I'm gathering.
Well, it's an option. I mean, it's one of the options. I mean, what it does with that first pick and winning that lottery, it opens the door to so many possibilities and so many opportunities. And if they take the pick and pick the player out of those guys that are up there that we think is going to be the best one, good. I mean, that'll be the best decision. If we decide to trade, that'll be the best decision. If we decide to move back and get a couple more picks for down the line, future time, and or package them to get a couple more picks with another player. Who knows? Or maybe get a veteran player in for it or something. So those are all these are all the things that have to be taken into account by Landry and Kyle and all those people that are in charge. So it's a burden for them, but it's a good burden to have, having that number one pick.
Yeah, it definitely is. This draft. Now I have a true or false question. See, this draft be true or false. This draft can be a defining moment for the city of Atlanta.
Well, it's got an opportunity to be. I mean, you hear people always saying now about this isn't a great draft, but I think any draft you have the number one pick is a great draft, just because of all the things you can do. Like I said, player, trade, move up, whatever, move down in the draft. All those possibilities are there. So yes, it could be a defining moment because the whole future of the team may be shaped in a couple of weeks and beyond that, because free agency starts July 1st, and then you go from there. A lot of people, and I kind of agree with this too, that you should do like football and hold the draft maybe after free agency, so you know what you've got. Yeah. So you know what your roster looks like. This way, you take a draft pick and then free agency starts. So you're kind of handcuffed a little bit on what you can do at that point. So maybe that's something down the line that the NBA will figure out or do. But for right now, though, having that first pick is great. I think it's just the fact that we had a 3% chance to get the number one pick. It's something has gone our way with the Hawks.
Mother's Day shined on us.
Right, after things not going so well sometimes, like you mentioned with the Dominique trade and that kind of thing. But here we are at this point, and let's hope it all works out.
I have a question from one of our followers. He says, "What's your all-time favorite call as an Atlanta Hawk announcer?"
Wow, that's a good question. There are so many. I think that when we won Game 5 in 1988, that famous Larry Bird series. We won that Game 5, came back here for Game 6. So all of that Game 5 was my favorite, especially at the end when we shocked the world, in that one. And that was one of my favorite, games. I guess one call I would say when Dominique broke the record as the all-time leading Hawks scorer, to be able to do that was pretty special. And being as close to Nick as I've been over these, 40 years plus, I think when he got hurt, when his Achilles blew out, that was one of the saddest calls I've made as a Hawks broadcaster, to see him, be taken off. And I know he said, and Joe O'Toole, they were on their way to Piedmont that night, and they had the radio on in the ambulance, and I mean, that's the only night I probably had some tears, when that happened. But my favorite was when he came back, and here he comes back as a very good 3-point shooter. He came back as a top free throw shooter, which he had never been, for a long time. Up until the last couple of years, he held the record for, I think he was 23 out of 23 one game, and that set the NBA record from the free throw line. So he was proud of that. But the actual calls, the Zaza, Kevin Garnett series in 2008.
Yes.
That one. I remember one specific call when Jamal Crawford hit a 3 to win a game. There's not that many. You don't get that many chances to call an actual buzzer beater game winner, over the years.
Exactly.
I mean, you're lucky to have a few. And we've been very lucky. Trey has had, several. And this year, DeJounte had 2 or 3 himself in one year, which never happens. So
even AJ Griffin has given us a couple.
AJ had that one when we were playing against his dad's team, and he laid that ball in right at the end. That was anytime we win, to me, is a great call. And you can I line up that big 3-pointer and somebody hits it right at the end, bang. That's the exciting part of it. That's the fun part of it. But to kind of narrow it down on different calls is kind of rough, kind of hard after, all these seasons.
Yeah. Like you said, going into your 40th season, and I'm glad to be corrected by that. It's just, you have so many calls, and
39, 40, 39, 40, it's like,
hey man, it's a difference. It's a difference. I don't want to cheat you of any of your grind, sir, any of it, because it has been a grind. This has been your journey. Definitely respect it. Especially for me coming out of sportscasting school just recently. Hey man,
Right.
I'm just starting my journey. So I definitely respect you and Bob Rathburn, who we had on a week ago. And you guys are some of the pioneers for Atlanta when it comes to broadcasting and just sports period. So
Amen.
we always
I'm glad you
appreciate,
didn't say we're
stuff
like
like that.
the old guys up on the Muppets up in the balcony there. Well, that
I got
you know,
another
Uh,
question for you. You have done
one of my
so much,
proudest,
and go ahead.
one of my proudest things is this streak, which I don't know if it
Yes,
means a lot to a lot of people, but to be able to do this for as long as I've done and never miss a game is, I count regular season and playoffs. I don't count preseason, but
right.
just to be able to, have the opportunity now to, God willing, make it to 3,000 opening night is an accomplishment that I'm really proud of that I've been able to, be there every night like that. And, Chick Hearn has the record of
Right.
consecutive games, which is 33, 38, I think, something like that. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of closing in on that now.
Yeah,
It's
he's
yeah.
going to be
closing in, man.
3 or 4 more years, but I feel good. And, as long as I can keep my eye on the ball and call the games, I think I've got a shot at it. So,
I think you do as
hopefully
well.
we'll make that.
Well, we're definitely all proud of you here in Atlanta, to say the least. Like I said, you've been doing this longer than some of us have been alive as Hawks
Most of
fans.
you have been alive. Some
Yeah,
of
I
us.
mean, I'm just saying, but what I'm basically saying is you stuck to the grind, and regardless from
Right.
birth, especially I can say for myself, from birth, you have been covering the Hawks, and even if we're not at the games, your voice has been able to make us feel like we're there, being a part of the atmosphere, and we just greatly appreciate you for that. Just alone, I can definitely say that.
Well, thank you. I
Definitely.
appreciate that, and I always appreciate, uh, when guys that are grown up now and have their own kids, and they come by our broadcast location, and they'll bring their child and say, I used to listen to Mr. Holman here when I was your age, and then they'll say, "Will you take a picture with my son or daughter or whatever?" And that gives me the most joy, really, is to be able to see another generation come up and have them listen to me too.
Yeah.
Right, right.
I
We got
experienced
to.
that actually with my granddad. He used to listen to you when I was young and in diapers,
Oh,
and
yeah, granddad.
to get
Oh my goodness.
to talk to you right now. I mean, it
Now it
just
used to
brings
be my
back memories
dad would
of,
bring me to the game. Now it's my granddad. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. I mean, it just brings back memories when you talk about things like that. So
Yeah.
I definitely get it. But if you
Well, I bring
had
my
any
grandkids to the
advice,
game and they sit with me sometimes, and I hope that's a memory that they'll have. That
right,
they can cherish that. Long after I'm not in the picture anymore, and they can remember that they came and sat, and that's any grandfather will tell you that. And I'm sure your grandfather was just as excited to bring you to a game and introduce you to it, and that's what we're getting to that point in Atlanta now where that's happening.
yeah,
And it's always
Right.
been more those Pittsburgh, Boston, New York. It's a rite of passage. Your grandpa or your father will bring you to a game. But
right,
here we're starting to get that now because we're into that second, third generation now, because our
Mhm.
teams didn't come here until the 60s, the mid 60s. So now we're getting to that point where we're getting kids bringing their kids, which is
Right.
what makes a great sports town. And I think we're reaching that now. I think we're getting more and more. And I felt this season. We didn't have a great season, but we had a full house almost every night, and it was
Mhm.
Hawks fans just about it. Back years, not that many years ago, we'd play the Lakers and everybody wore a Kobe shirt, or we'd
Yeah,
play the Celtics and you
we didn't
know,
have nobody.
and all the Celtics fans would be there. We'd have all the old fat white guys show up in the Larry Bird jerseys, and that would
Yep.
be
oh, I remember
Just
those
remember
days.
the fat guys and the white
right.
and the
Yeah, yeah,
Bird.
but now we've got more Hawks fans, which is a great thing and a great testament to our teams and the players and the perseverance of not only the Hawks but the Falcons and the Braves over the years, and it's great to see.
Amen,
Right, right.
amen.
I know you
One
said
one more
go
question
ahead,
that I
Smith.
have.
Go ahead.
Um, if you had any advice for a young guy such as myself, and I'm still young, yes. what would it be to somebody getting into broadcasting and color commentating?
Well, it's a harder route right now than it was when I first started, because you've got so many radio stations and things like that where you would normally start at a small station and learn how to do things. But now there's so many automated stations. There's syndicated stations, syndicated shows. So basically, all small stations have are jobs for board operators. But if you can find a place to get a start in a small station, TV, radio, whatever, and do everything you can do. This is what I usually tell high school, college kids. Try to do everything at a radio station or TV station. Like when I started, I read the news. I played records. We actually had records back then that we played. I was a disc jockey.
I remember those.
But try to do everything. Learn everything about the business, because the more you can do for your boss, different things, the better chance you have of sticking around, and then you get your opportunity. And the other thing I would say for young broadcasters who especially want to do play-by-play or color commentary, you have to do the game. I mean, that's the main thing. Just get out there and do the game. And if you don't have a job where you can do games, go take it. Well, it used to be a tape recorder. Now take your phone, excuse me, and record on the phone a game, just like you're doing the whole game, or do it in front of the TV. Turn the sound down and get your rosters for you like you were preparing to broadcast, and then stick with it for 2.5 hours, because you're not going to have any breaks to say, oh, gee, I don't know what to do now. I'm going to stop. There's no stopping the tape when you're actually doing this. So that's my best advice.
Excellent sound advice, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, I'm definitely going to take that advice to heart all the way, because anything that I can possibly do to get better, I'm trying to do it. It's all about growing.
Make sure that when you're ready to apply to a station or whatever, wait for that moment when you think you've got the best that you can put out there, because you may only get one crack at it, So make sure you've got the best tape or audition. And my other advice always is program directors, people in charge of hiring for these jobs, they'll listen to the first minute of your tape or your digital or whatever. They're not going to listen to it 20 minutes. They'll pretty much know in their minds after the first 30 seconds even. So try to put your best stuff in there. And so they'll stay listening to you for the next 3, but don't make it more. I wouldn't make an audition thing more than 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, that's probably max. Right. That's another piece of advice that I try to give.
Oh yeah. Valuable, very valuable advice, and sound advice. And another more I'm going to definitely take to heart. And I know just a couple more things before we let you go. I know you've done the Olympics as well back in '96, and I just want to know, how was that experience, just covering the men's and basketball and women's basketball teams, and even some boxing? Like, how was that experience?
Well, that was great. I mean, that was an experience like no other, really. I mean, to be able to do that, we worked our butts off for 3 weeks during that. I mean, it wasn't easy, but it was a great time. I got to do a lot of the men's basketball games that year. I called the women's gold medal game, which, all the famous coaches now, Don Staley and all of those, they were all on that team, so it was great to call that, especially nationally. We were on Westwood One, Mutual Radio then, now it's Westwood One / NBC Radio. To get to do that was a great experience. And then to do the boxing, I called the only gold medal that year that the U.S. had. David Lee was his name, that won the gold medal. And by accident, I called that because the guy that was doing the play-by-play on the boxing got called home on an emergency at the last minute. And I was in it was the World Congress Center, but we called it the International Broadcast Center during the Olympics. And they came to me and said, go over to Georgia Tech and do the boxing. Because the guy that was doing it can't do it. I said, well, I've never done boxing. I've never done it. So what do I do? And they said, well, don't worry. They said boxing is like basketball with gloves on, is what they told me. So I went and did it, and and there was the gold medal. It was an upset too. The gold medal when he won that. Like David Lee beat the. I can't remember it was a guy, a Cuban guy that was the big favorite to win, and he beat him. So that was a thrill too, to be able to do that, and just to have that. I still have that. I have all those tapes, and I keep them all on my phone digitally now. So it's great. I got to meet the champ and have a picture with him that night, Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
In that broadcast center, and that was, of course, when he lit the flame, which was unbelievable. He still, he still could get around pretty well at that time. His Parkinson's and everything had started by then, but just to be able to, to see him and be able just in person. And here he was walking right next to me, and John Saraceno, who's the famous boxing writer for USA Today. And he helped me on that broadcast a lot. He was my expert. He actually took the picture on one of those little Kodak throwaway cameras.
Yeah.
The picture is the champ.
Wow.
The champ's holding up his fist to me. And it's like, that's one of my greatest photos. So just that whole experience of the Olympics was amazing.
Magical memories. Magical memories. Yeah, right. Well, I know you said you don't be paying attention to these youngsters until they get into the league like that. But
I do a little bit.
Around the city of Atlanta, this guy named Alex Sarr, his name is trending in the streets as far as.
Now tell me, you guys might know this. You guys know this more than I did. I guess he was around here for a couple of years, right? Wasn't he at the academy?
He did.
The basketball academy over there at Atlantic Station?
Yes, sir.
You know who I think one of the top guys over there is Damian Wilkins, Dominique's nephew, Gerald's son, who played for us. Damian played for us too, and Damian, I think, is part of the management there now of that. So this kid, this kid who's from France, he's 19, right? I think he's 19.
Yes, 19.
He's turned 19.
I mean, if they do decide to draft him, I mean, here he is. He's got a couple of years experience in Atlanta. He's come out and said that he enjoyed Atlanta. He's been to Hawks games, so that would be a big plus right there.
Yeah, it would be. He's definitely the odds-on favorite as far as when it goes to the fans. I know the Hawks are front office, and I think they shouldn't leave any stone unturned. They should do their due diligence on all players. Just like
they're doing that. They're burning the midnight oil, as we like to say.
Okay.
Doing all that, and I'm sure, they understand the burden that's there. I mean, and they know how important this is to the franchise. What's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. So they're doing all their due diligence on everything. We know that. And I'm sure the phones are ringing off the hooks almost every day. And as we get closer to the 26th, there's going to be a lot of the other GMs around the league that are going to be calling Landry's number. And, there'll be a lot of discussions going on. So it's all ongoing. And I can't, the 26th to me can't come soon enough that we figure out what's going to happen.
Talking about?
Yes, indeed.
And then that's only going to be that's going to be the first step. I mean, once that happens, then the other shoes drop as far as free agency, trades, everything else that goes along. So, and we've got a solid roster here. We didn't get a lot of breaks with injuries and things like that this past year, but I hear people sometimes say, "Oh, tear it down, start all over again." Teams that do that, I mean, you can be doing that for years and years and years. And
that don't make sense.
There's the old saying in basketball where you could be 2 years away from being 2 years away forever.
Right.
I mean, and it's happened to a lot of teams around all of sports that you can use that 2 years away from being 2 years away. There's something to be said about the moment. I mean, our veteran guys are not getting any younger every day. The core group that I think can be winners. I really do. I think that, we have a great shot. The Eastern Conference has become the tougher conference now out of the two, top to bottom, I'd say, has been. So it's not going to be easy. We know that, but I'm actually pretty excited about this whole thing with the first pick and all that. So we'll see what happens. And really training camp, we start the end of September, and I think our first preseason game might be like October 12th, which isn't that far away. You know, we
right
think
around the
the
corner.
season's going to be so long, and I wish it wasn't as long as it was this year, because
Right.
Celtics and Dallas are
Right.
still playing, and they could play all the way up till 3 days before the draft. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind still
Yeah.
being
Good.
I wouldn't mind being in Boston right now, or Dallas, to be playing in the finals. That would be great. But
It really would.
it's something to look forward to down the line.
I
Right.
got one more question, and it has to do with number 3,000. Dinner of choice
Mhm.
for number 3,000.
They're going to start calling me Andre
No,
on opening night.
Steve, now they got to call you Stevie 3K, man. They got to call you
Yes,
Stevie
right.
3K.
I got to bring Andre in and Big Boy that night. We got to come up there and
Hey,
the,
that can
and
be
maybe,
that can be
maybe
a
I'll
nice bobblehead night. That can be a nice
well,
bobblehead night. Had the Steve
yeah, that would
Holman
be
with
good.
the Outcast.
I'm thinking about starting the broadcast for number 3,000. Hey now, hey now.
There you go. There you go. Hey, the thing about it is, whatever you decide, you deserve it, Mr. Holman. Because 3,000 broadcasts is, man, that's a lot. I can't even fathom that. That's crazy, man. That's just a testament to you and you being the Iron Man. Like I said, the Undertaker. His streak ain't got nothing on your streak, Mr. Holman. Just keep on
Right.
doing what you're doing. We appreciate you here in Atlanta.
Well, guys, thank you. I appreciate it, and you guys continue to do what you do, and I think it's great. I see the barber chairs right there, and
Oh yeah.
someday we'll all sit there. We can talk about stuff we can't talk about on the podcast. So
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Those be some of the
get it.
best talks.
We'll get it done at the barbershop.
No
All
doubt.
righty now. Well, thank you so much again for coming on, taking the time out of your busy schedule, and we would love to, to possibly, talk with you again in the future, and we would
Yes,
like you
sir.
to enjoy the rest.
Anytime you guys need me, you got my number.
Oh, yes, sir, indeed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, indeed. And we definitely will be in contact with you, and thank you so much again.
Thank you. It's been fun. Thanks.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Oh man, that was the voice of your Atlanta Hawks, Steve Holman, y'all. Yes, sir. That's what we do here, man. The 95 North crew bring you the best content personally and professionally that we possibly can. Berto wasn't here, but he definitely was in the chat. Shout out to you, Berto. And shout out to everybody who came through to take time out their afternoon, rolling into the evening to listen to our voice of the Atlanta Hawks, Steve Holman, man. Smitty, man, tell the people what's up, man.
Hey, y'all know what's up, man. Tomorrow, special guest, Mr. Steve Weiss, NFL.com analyst, former AJC journalist. He's out in LA now, and he's still doing his thing in the NFL on NFL Network. Oh,
Yes.
so shout out to Bryce Lewis for putting us in the game on that, man. We truly appreciate it. And trust me, we're gonna put on for the city, and we're gonna keep putting on for the city. And shout out to you, Chris, man, for getting Mr. Holman to come through, man.
Hey,
You
man,
doing your thing, man. You growing each and every day, and I see it, and I love it, bro. So keep
man,
doing
I
y'all
appreciate
thing, man. And shout out to Mr. Mark Cheney, man. Y'all can go check him out on YouTube,
Oh, yeah.
man. He talks Atlanta Hawks and Atlanta Falcons, man. He does his thing. He's gonna be on the show with us a little bit down the road, man. So y'all stay tuned for it, because with these YouTube content creators, man, we steadily helping them grow and, man, trying to help them realize their dream. And I asked that question for Chris about the advice that Steve Holman could give, and it was great sound and valuable advice. And hope y'all take heed to it. And anybody that was watching, man, if y'all want to get into podcasting or broadcasting or play-by-play, trust me, it's harder than it seems. But if you put in the work, it's truly worth the experience, because you get to talk to some of the people you grew up watching and listening to, as far as athletes, analysts, things of that nature. And to talk to some of these people, man, is a dream come true of mine to talk to these kind of people, man. And who knows, somebody that I've been wanting to interview probably since I was a tyke, I might get that down the road, and I'm going to keep working until I get to do that. So one thing about it is a grind at the end of the day, but it's absolutely 200% worth the grind, putting in the work, putting in the research, and doing those kind of things. But yeah, y'all can find me on Smitty Sports Machine on YouTube. Find me on Twitter at FatBoySlam_21. I'm always on Twitter trying to blow things up because that's what I do. And again, thanks, Chris, for coming through this interview, man.
Hey man, ain't no thing. Hey, 2024 growing season, man. That's what we've been talking about. And definitely got to lead by example. Definitely one step at a time, one day at a time. Sometimes you're going to get more
Facts.
no's and yeses, but it's all about the journey and just enjoying it. And sometimes we lose track of that. I know I do sometimes, and I appreciate all everybody, it's in the Falcon community, Hawks community, Braves community, rise up content creators. Can't say that enough. Shout out to
Big
all
Low
the
Country,
Falcons.
Uncle Steve.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right,
shout out,
right,
man.
right. Shout out to
ATLGA faithful. I mean, I
yes,
can
sir.
go on and on.
We really
Go
can.
on
We
and
can do a whole show about how many people we can just shout out.
on. Right.
Seriously, man. Seriously, man.
List
But we
getting longer.
appreciate
List getting
everyone.
long.
Yes, yes, and that's a beautiful thing. Cause that just means it's more growth. The longer the list gets, that just means it's more growth. And we all love working with you guys. Going to you guys' channels and checking out your content, as this is really becoming a real content creator family and movement, and it will continue
Absolutely.
to grow. Will continue to grow. But you can find me, man, on X, Twix, Twitter, whatever it is. A1 Forever, Instagram, A1 Forever, TikTok, the real A1 Forever, and of course on YouTube, the platform is A1 Forever Sports, the show that's cooler and fly too. Be generational because it's always time to be, and don't you settle for less because you can always have more with a vision. Make sure, if you haven't already done it, to find your peace today. Positive energy always creates elevation. So find your peace on this day. And until next time, y'all, you already know, for Smitty 10K, soon to be 11K, and for A1 Forever Sports, Chris Tip Moore, our brother Berto, for 95 North Falcons, and
Yeah,
also
shout out to
Bleacher
Berto,
Report.
man. He doing his thing as
Always,
well. He
always,
working
man.
on something in the background. They gonna shake all
Mhm.
y'all boots, man. Trust me. We working, man. Cause
Working, baby,
I
working.
mean, hey, we enjoy bringing this content to y'all 24/7, 365. That's what we do, man. And like Chris said, from my boy Chris Moore, me, your boy Antoine Smith, we gonna holler at y'all soon, man. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock to be exact. So y'all be there. We gone.
We the